Censure is not something you hear about often. In fact, I kind of had to look up exactly what it meant in the political sense. The short of it is, what does it really mean? Not much, actually. It really does not mean that much. But here's what's going on over in Arizona. Arizona Democratic Party will hold vote to censure Sinema. So Kristen Sinema is the Democrat who's not even for net neutrality. All right, but let's look into this. The Arizona Democratic Party is planning to hold a vote this week to determine whether Senator Kristen Sinema should be censured. The Arizona Republic reports the censure vote is due to the fact that progressives in the state Democratic Party see her as too accommodating to President Trump and his policies. Those seeking to censure Sinema point to her vote to confirm David Bernhardt, Trump's nominee to serve as Secretary of the Interior, as well as her vote to confirm William Barr as Attorney General. Additionally, progressives in the Arizona Democratic Party cite Sinema's resistance to joining fellow Democrats in trying to reinstate net neutrality rules to prevent internet service providers from throttling websites. Even Nancy Pelosi gets net neutrality right. Chuck Schumer gets net neutrality right. Pretty much every Democrat, except for Sinema. Sinema's one who does not get net neutrality right. And Joe Biden's another one. Those are the only two I can think of off the top of my head. I'm sure there's a handful of others. But the Democrats are pretty much in unison on net neutrality. Why? Because over 80% of Americans favor net neutrality all across the political spectrum. And there are some Republicans in favor of net neutrality too. The people want it because we want a free and open internet. We want the internet to not discriminate. The people want that. It's abundantly clear. Kristen Sinema can't even get that right. So they're going to censure her, which basically means it's basically kind of similar to a vote of no confidence. There's no action obligation on her part. She doesn't have to resign because of this, should it go through. She could and she might, but it's basically just a gesture. It's basically just kind of, kind of similar to saying, hey, we don't, it's a strong reprimand, basically, but there's not really any obligatory action. At least I'm pretty sure. Over the decades, several forms of disciplines have evolved in the House. The most severe type of punishment is expulsions from the House, which is followed by censure and finally reprimand. Expulsion requires a 2/3 majority vote. Censure and reprimand, which are imposed by a simple majority of the full House. These are not, so it could involve expulsion. But censure itself does not equal expulsion. Okay. All right. Yeah, this is something that's not used often. So you don't hear about this often. That's why I wanted to make sure, that, so censure itself does not equal expulsion. Expulsion could spawn and be part of it. But expulsion, so I'm looking at this house.gov website here. The sternest form of punishment that the House has imposed on its members is expulsion, an action which has only been used 5 times in more than 2 centuries. The Constitution empowers both the House and the Senate to expel a sitting member who engages in disorderly behavior, requiring a 2/3 vote of those present. Now, whereas censure just kind of evolved, and those are imposed by a simple majority of the full House. So they could get her on censure because that just revolves the majority of the House, which are majority Democrats right now. So if all the Democrats stand behind that, they could get her on that. But as far as expulsion, that does not seem likely. You need 2/3 for that, 2/3 vote of all those present. So I don't see that happening to her, nor do I know if it's something that they're pursuing, because it seems like, again, censure and expulsion are not necessarily synonymous. However, one could lead to the other. Now, 538's Trump tracker, which involves good old Nate Silver, it found that Sinema has opposed Trump during her time in the Senate 81% of the time. During her time in the House, where she served 3 terms, she supported Trump's agenda 54% of the time. Okay, now, those are not passing grades. Those are not passing grades to side with the Trump administration over half the time. And you're supposedly part of the opposition party. How are you part of the opposition party if you side with them over half the time? You're not. So we'll see what goes through with that. But censure, not something that's used all that often, mostly a symbolic action. However, could lead to expulsion, could involve expulsion later down the road, or could start with expulsion, then censure later. But again, expulsion has only been used, according to that Gov website, that House.gov website I was just on. Apparently, that's only been used 5 times in the past 2 centuries. So I doubt expulsion is on the table here. Censure is, which I mean, that's basically just a symbolic gesture. It does get recorded, so it'll go down that she got. So I'm sure it's something that's like you don't want on your record. It doesn't look good. She might resign because of it if it goes through. She might not. I mean, she shamelessly goes against net neutrality, something over 80% of the public wants, something that anybody with any moral compass knows is a good thing, something that if you're against it, you're just blatantly siding with the internet service providers who want to price gouge our access to the internet, something that is detrimental for democracy, that is detrimental for the exchange of information, that is detrimental to consumer rights. She goes against that with a smile on her face. So we'll see what happens there. But if I had to take a guess, even if it goes through, I doubt she'd resign over it. I could be wrong, but I doubt she'd resign over it.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and make it our own. Get your